Good afternoon and welcome. We are gathered to commemorate Beryl Chapman and the person she was. She was a real character, was Beryl. Great fun, with an amazing sense of humour. And as such, we're going to start off with a particular song that Beryl's family would like you to all join in and sing along with. I think you've got the words, so nice and loud, just as Beryl would have wanted. Here we go.
They can really make you mad. Other things just make you swear and curse. When you're chewing on life's bristle, don't grumble, give a whistle. And this will help things turn out for the best. And always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Life seems jolly rotten, and just when you're feeling in the dumps, don't be silly chumps. Just purse your lips and whistle, that's the thing. And always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Life is one of certain death, the final word. Must always face the curtain with a bow. Forget about your sin, give the audience a grin. Enjoy it, it's your last chance anyhow. So always look on the bright side of life. Your poise for your terminal breath. Life's a piece of shit when you look at it. Life's a laugh and death's a joke, it's true. You'll see it's all a show, keep on laughing as you go. And just remember, that's the last touch is on you. And always look on the bright side of life. 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 Always look on the bright side of life.
Thank you all, and well done. That was wonderful, and certainly a start to remember, I think. Very much setting the tone for this ceremony, which is a celebration of Beryl's life. a chance to commemorate her years, a time to pay tribute to her, and to give thanks for the share you had in her life and she in yours. Today will be a simple affair with no fuss, just as Beryl would have wanted, and thank you all for coming. Mel, Debbie, Lynn, and I would also wanted to say thank you to Personal Touch Care Services for taking great care of Beryl, and Dr. Yakola for her help and support. Your relationship with Beryl was unique, and you all knew her differently. But when someone you love has died, the company of others can be important. And so it's hoped that being here together today will offer some comfort. Beryl came from a big family, one of 8 brothers and sisters, so there are hundreds of relatives in Australia who can't make today, but we're making a recording for them. And likewise, her grandchildren, Eloise, Nina and Sarah, and her great-grandchildren, Thea and Amelia, will also be able to say goodbye by watching the recording, with all you singing on it. So you'll be famous in Australia. So let me tell you a bit about Beryl and her life, and it's quite a remarkable life. She was born on the 27th of May 1925, and most of you will know that she was an accomplished acrobat, ground tumbler, trampolinist and highboard diver. She started at an early age dancing and winning medals for Scottish sword dance, Irish jig, hornpipe and many others, locally and nationally in her native Australia. Beryl would spend her spare time in the park practicing her acrobats, when at the age of 11 she was spotted by a talent scout. Her father took her for an audition in Sydney, and that was the beginning of her life as a travelling acrobat. The family, Digger and Sheila Pugh, were themselves acrobats, and they gathered a troupe of young acrobats to travel the world, the Wallabies. They headed off in 1937 by boat to Japan, spending 3 months working cabarets there. It was then on to Shanghai, Hong Kong and to Singapore, where they worked in the famous Raffles Hotel. After a few weeks of working in various venues in Singapore, they moved on to Malaysia's capital Kuala Lumpur, and then to Sri Lanka for a 4-week booking at the Grand Oriental Hotel in Colombo. Their next stop was India for a booking at the Taj Mahal in Bombay. The girls didn't get paid, all their needs were met, and they worked each venue to raise the money to head to the next destination. Sometimes they even took jobs in the daytime for extra cash, working in factories or shops. Every country they landed in, they had new outfits made, and they practiced their routines on the ships they travelled on. Sometimes they were passenger ships, sometimes cargo ships, but often hair-raising journeys in all weathers. Their time in Asia was met with wonder and delight, as no one had seen the like. Young girl acrobats wowing audiences with their performances on the trampoline and floor. One newspaper in India reported, on their final night they received a rousing farewell from an admiring roomful of diners. They deserved it, as they were probably the best turn of their kind ever to have visited Bombay. I should rank them among the very best in the world. Furthermore, Little Marie, Australia's charming double of Shirley Temple, isn't the star turn of the troupe. That honour being held by Beryl, the little blonde beauty, who is in a fair way to grow into the world's wonder tumbler. For her age, she is that already. What an accolade to have received. They then headed off to the UK, arriving at the end of 1937, and things took off in a big way. Their performances were so sought after, they worked matinee and evening shows daily in venues and theatres all over England, Scotland and Wales. They worked with many famous people at the time. However, when the war broke out in 1939, the authorities told them they had to leave the UK and head back to Australia. They found a ship heading for Italy, stopping in Sicily for a few engagements, then on to Sri Lanka again, Calcutta, Singapore and finally back to Australia. They stopped in each city on their way back to Sydney. Beryl stayed in Australia, still working with the troupe in the Tivoli Theatre in Sydney, when in 1941 Digger announced they were off on their travels again, this time heading east, mainly because the war was raging in the west. They stopped first in New Zealand but found it difficult to get work there, so they set up the trampoline on a roof terrace and entertained people in the street below. They then headed to Honolulu on the island of Oahu and Hawaii for about 3 months, leaving the islands just before the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. They landed in San Francisco, where they worked for a while before heading back to Canada and working in a few cities there. They then made their way back to the US, working a few venues in New York, Cincinnati, and then they joined the Cole Brothers Circus. By this time, there was only Beryl and Pip, as the others had returned to Australia after visiting Japan. They travelled with the circus for 3 months, stopping every few days in different towns. Beryl's speciality was doing 266 consecutive flips around the edge of the main ring. Wow. They headed back to New York once the circus season was over, and whilst waiting for a ship back to the UK, they went to see a young singer that was causing a bit of a sensation. Can you guess who that was? Frank Sinatra. The only way they could get back to the UK then was to join ENSA, the Entertainment's National Service Association, entertaining the troops. By this time it was 1942 and Beryl worked in London, all through the Blitz to the end of the war, making many trips to the air raid shelters. Again, she worked with many famous people of the time, but the highlight was performing in the Royal Variety performance in front of the King and Queen in 1946. And you can see a framed record of this at the entrance if you haven't already. She eventually left the family and set up an act with another girl for a while, until she met her first husband, Mel, Debbie and Lynn's dad, Bob. The two of them created their trampoline act, Beryl and Bobbin, and continued working theatres all over the UK. Beryl continued to work as an acrobat, including a time for high board diving in Weston-super-Mare and diving into a massive water tank that she and her partner then travelled around with to various outdoor venues in the UK and Ireland. And there's a newspaper spread showing her talents as well to have a look at if you haven't seen that. It was in the early 70s that Beryl hung up her leotards, but what a remarkable life. She finally got a proper job then. But suffice to say, she had given her 3 children the most unusual childhood, and also the freedom to follow their own paths with confidence. And they'll all miss her terribly. It's quite a story, and more can be found online with photos if you want to have a search for Beryl Chapman, My Life as an Acrobat. There's also a Facebook page, Digger Pew's Girls, so be sure to check that out. It's such a fitting way to remember Beryl and all her talents. So, the time has come to bid Beryl a more formal farewell, and I'd like to ask you all to stand. In love and respect, we remember the life of Beryl Chapman, and here in this last act, immune now to the changes and chances of human life, we say goodbye to Beryl's physical existence on this earth, but knowing that much more lives on in the hearts of you, her family and friends. Beryl, may the roads rise up to meet you. May the winds be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and may the rains fall soft upon your fields until we meet again. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. And deep peace of the shining stars to you. And may you rest in peace, Beryl. Please be seated. We've gathered today to remember a remarkable woman, upbeat with impeccable comic timing. Beryl was also opinionated, with fairly strong views on various politically incorrect matters, and often voiced these opinions with her stage whispers, which were cringingly loud. Self-sufficient and fiercely independent, she was a dab hand at DIY. Her kids found her retiling the roof one day. She laid bricks for the bathroom extension and was known for her Kango skills to take paddle dash off the front of the house. She loved her food, and given her travels, she was adventurous with her tastes and one of the first mums to introduce her kids to Chinese food. An amazing seamstress, Debbie and Yang remember being the first to flaunt bell-bottoms and Mary Quant miniskirts and maxi dresses. Beryl was an animal fan too. There was a whole menagerie at home. You can name it, they had it. Parrots and ducks alongside an aviary, and cats and dogs that were both pets and for breeding. Beryl met her late husband Gordon, with whom her ashes will be laid here in the Garden of Remembrance, later on in life, and on their first date, she kept Lynn waiting up all night until she got home in the early hours. She explained she'd been to work with Gordon. It turns out he was a coach driver, and Beryl went with him to drop holidaymakers off in the evening, enjoying a few hours together before being the last to be dropped home after the others were safely dropped off to their hotels. She and Gordon were known as the House Grannies by her kids. They'd jump on the motorbike for lots of adventures and fun during the winter months, travelling to Spain and returning to Jersey in the summer. Beryl did so many things and could turn her hand to anything, and she did just all she could to look after her kids. She certainly got the most out of life, and it's this legacy she leaves behind today, to live life to the full and as you want to do it. And death is about learning to come to terms with our own grief and the loss of a loved one, and our changed worlds as a result. Life will be different now without Beryl in it, and you will be different without her around. Rather than time healing, it's perhaps more about learning to cope better as time goes on. Although no longer here with you in person, she will always remain part of your family, part of your circle, and part of you as an individual, through the influences she's had on you over the years and the special part she's played in your lives. And she will still very much live on in your memories. You've loved Beryl and she you, and this love will continue as you go forward, remembering her and treasuring the special times shared together. So, we'll draw to a close now with an exit we're all going to remember, and one the entertainer Beryl herself would have loved. The family have all requested that for the piece of music that's about to be played, you've guessed it, you all need to join in and take part, follow them out and do the dance, and then gather with lots of hugs and kisses outside. Beryl would have expected nothing less from her zany kids, who say they've learned from the best. So, if you're all ready, here goes.
Bring me joy.
Oh, making myself cramp.
That's angry. It's just amazing.
Photographs.
Who was Beryl?
Sorry, award for performance. King and Queen. Oh, there's not too many people got that.
I'll get it on the way back.
Oh yeah, well I'm going shopping tomorrow anyway. Oh, what's that?
No Milton.
No Milton, only drain unblocker.